Welcome to this demo session of how to use PaperX. So usually for me, anytime I create an application, I try to keep the packages that I'm using in the application itself. However, most of the times I use the pip freeze command, which results in me pipping all packages that are available in my virtual environment into my requirement file, which is not a good way to be able to use it on different platforms, since the environments would be created and only what we need is the top level packages that we are using in the application. So to demonstrate this today, I've decided to do this video, and I'm actually going to do it step by step so that you can follow along and also be able to use it. So first off, me, whenever I create a project, I create a virtual environment just to make sure that it's actually not packages I'm installing are not being conflicted with other packages I already have on my system. So I usually prefer using git bash. So with my git bash open, I will create a virtual environment in Python. Now the virtual environment, to create one, you simply run the command python -m vm and then the name of the environment. So in my case, I will use my vm. Okay, and then I'll hit enter. This would result in creating a virtual environment, which will take a while to actually create one. Now when this virtual environment is created, I would prefer to actually only use the packages that are actually being used in my application, not the packages that are actually inside the virtual environment, right? So first thing, to be able to use the virtual environment is to activate the virtual environment. So we'll do source, since I'm using git bash, source, then the name of the environment, then script, then activate. Then this will activate the environment. So now you can see the environment has been activated here. Let's try listing all the packages that are actually in the environment at this moment. So we do pip list, then enter. Then we will see we only have the pip that is available inside the particular package, the package version that we have. Now if we go to let's say I open a new terminal without activating the virtual environment, then I just run let me deactivate. Right, then I just run pip ls. You see I have a lot of packages that would come up as a result, right? So a lot of packages that I might not need in my application. So if I try to install, let's delete this and get back here. Alright, now let's install fast API for this demonstration. So pip install. So I install the standard version, so fast API standard. And this will install the fast API for us, firmware for us. So when this is done installing, all the dependencies that come with it will be installed into our environment, right? So that means when we run our pip list this time around, pip list would come with all the dependencies that came with installing fast API, right? So when that happens, what we will do is that we will first demonstrate with what I've been using already in my time working with Python. I had been using pip freeze and I found it very effective, but I wanted to share this as one of the ways I go about bundling my requirement file, so that anyone that I'm actually working with would be able to use the application, the requirement file, to install their versions of it and then use it effectively. So while it's installing, currently I would show you two ways of going about this, right? So the first one is that we would install it without the requirement file, and then we would see what will happen, and then with the requirement file we run the same commands and we see what will happen. Now when you run it with the same commands, when there's a requirement file, there's something else you need to do. Okay, all right. So first off, let's just do pip list again. Pip list, and now we see we have a lot of packages. Meanwhile, we only installed fast API, right? So let's do this. Let's demonstrate with pip freeze. So pip freeze dash requirements. So this is to enable appendment requirements.txt, right? Then hit enter. Now this will pick up all the files and then the packages and then put them in here. But we only want to have the top level package that we just installed, which is what? Fast API. So currently this is what we will get. And let me clear this and save this. Now the package we are going to use is pip rec. So we do pip install pip rec. Okay, then hit enter to install the package that we are going to use. Now when this is done installing, currently we don't have any application running in fast API in this particular system. So in this folder we do not have any fast API application, so the packages that we are using in the application is not known. So what pip rec does is that it reads through all the packages of your application, the current folder that you are directing it to, and then all the packages that are being used, all the stuff that are being used in there, it picks them up and then it uses their current versions to create your requirements.txt file. So to now do that, we will just run pip rex dot. Now because I don't want to bring in everything that is inside my virtual environment, what I'll do is that I'll ignore my virtual environment, right? So I'll actually run a command that will help me ignore my virtual environment. So to do that, I'll run this particular command, pip rec dot, then I will flag it. Okay, so let's flag it. So to flag it, we'll do dash ignore, right? Then the virtual environment name, right? Then we ignore it. So we hit enter. Now what will happen is that it will tell us that it already exists, right? The file already exists. So if you want, you flag it with a false and then override whatever is inside it. So if you don't have a requirement file created and then you run this particular command now, it will automatically create it, right? But currently in our folder we can see we don't have any application running the fast API that we've any file running the using fast API that we just recorded, right? That we just installed. So what we are going to do, so currently we can see that there's no file that is using the fast API we just installed. So to do that, if we check here, it's currently empty because we don't have any file using fast API. So to be able to get the packages that are being used by your application, only the packages that are being used, so that someone else can actually install them and use them, you would just click let's just create a file. So let's call it main.py, and inside this we will do from fast API, right, import fast API, right, and then we will do app equals to fast API, right, and then this is we creating a simple fast API application. Okay, then we just do app dot get, all right, then I'll just make this the root, then I create a function def home, then I just return welcome home. All right, now with this I now have a file that is actually running fast API. So now if we come back to run our command, which is pip rex dot, indicating this current folder, right, then we can flag that we don't want our virtual environment to be scanned. Okay, so what pip rec does is that it scans through the files and see the ones that are using specific packages, and then it gets the current versions of them and then uses those to create your requirements.txt file. Okay, now that we have this requirement file here, let's just delete it so we don't use the false flag. Okay, so we delete this, then we just do ignore the environment, right? We ignore our virtual environment, then we press enter. Now this will create the package for us and then use it in the application. Okay, so it will run through. What it will do is that to scan this particular file, all the files that are in here, but it won't scan the environment file because we are ignoring that. So you can see it has actually scanned, it has seen the import that is there, so that's the only import it has seen, and then it has created the environment the requirement.txt file. So now when we click on the requirement.txt file, we should see it's only fast API that is available. So this is actually one way you can actually go about it. So now even if we already have the requirement file, but we want to override the requirement file, then in that case we could flag this with a false. Okay, so we can do -- false, then enter. Now in this case, if we had another package in here, okay, something like, let's say we have a package called xyz, okay, 10 point something something, right? Let me just make it 1.013. Okay, then Control A, copy that, right? Then let's save it. Then we rerun this. Now when we rerun this, what you would see is that what we currently have over there in the requirement file will be overwritten by the false flag, and then only read what is actually in the packages and then use that to actually serve us what we need for this. So anytime you want to actually build your project and you just want to only make available the packages you use, so that other users or other people that you are working with can actually install only the packages that are being used by the application, but not the packages that are installed on your virtual environment, you can use paperX to actually do that and then get only the top level packages that you are using in the application. Thank you.